Welcome, listeners. Julie here with an important intro to this week's episode. Before we dive in, we wanted to acknowledge that this episode was recorded just a couple of weeks before Hurricane Helene hit, causing significant devastation across parts of the U.S., including Asheville, North Carolina. Our guests this week are from the incredible team Zillicoah, who have been deeply affected by the storm. While their story remains inspiring and full of passion, a lot has changed since we recorded the conversation. We ask that you keep this in mind as you listen. We'll include their GoFundMe link, and you can also look on their Instagram for updates and additional ways you can support Zillicoah as they rebuild and continue serving their community. Please share their story, lend your support if you can, and help us rally behind this amazing brewery. Now let's get into the episode.
Welcome, listeners, to Through the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Jonathan and Parks of Zillicoah. Yeah. Thank you so much. And we also have Otis and Chaco here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for making time for us, guys.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for thinking of us.
Yeah, of course.
So I know I just kind of introduced y'all, but can you tell us a little, reintroduce yourself and tell us your roles here at Zillicoah?
I'm Jonathan Chasner. One of the co-founders of Zillicoah Beer Company and one of the two brewers. We're a pretty small unit here. It's just myself, my partner here, John Parks, and then our other partner, who is my brother, Jeremy Chasner, and he runs administration.
Oh, nice.
As far as our goals, we love brewing beer. And we love that people support our vision to make the best beer possible that is available to us through local ingredients as far as we can get. We try to source locally, but we also are very interested in respecting the culture of beer and the history of beer. So we brew a lot of German-inspired beer styles. We focus on lager, and we have what we call the dark side, a program for a lot of Brett beers.
Awesome.
Yeah, open fermentation is something that we really are interested in and lean into with both sides. Our light side, which is our Saccharomyces, and then our dark side, we open ferment a lot of stuff too. So
rad.
Just happy to be part of the community, and I think maybe Parks has something to add to goals.
No, it's pretty good. I mean, I think it's important to say European inspired beers, because we always remind ourselves that we are an American brewery.
Yeah.
And so we try not to take anything too seriously. And we always try to put a little stamp of our own on whatever we're doing. So it's kind of our take on
your own uniqueness and profile.
Yeah, it's through the lens of us as an American brewery.
Very cool. I think that's very
important.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were the first person to weave in our podcast name. That's some points.
I love it.
All right, mic drop. We're done.
Yeah. Okay. And we're done. Yeah, I love that. So where did y'all grow up?
So we're both from Miami. We've actually known each other since 6th grade.
Wow.
We had a music teacher that introduced us because we were both going to perform at the talent show.
Oh, rad.
And then he broke both of his wrists.
Skateboarding.
Classic Chasner style.
Not sure what that means, but I'm a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ever since then we've been best friends.
Yeah.
Growing up.
What song were you guys going to perform for the talent show?
Molly's Lips.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a song. The teacher originally put us together because I wrote a song and played it for the music class, and we were actually not in the same class. And the teacher put it. We hadn't even met yet, and I played a song that I wrote. My teacher liked it, and she was like, "Oh, you should meet this other guy who plays bass, and you guys should play." So I think originally she wanted us to play that song for the talent show.
Oh, okay.
And then when I went down on the skateboard,
things changed?
Funny, you ended up playing with Shepard, who is a part of Zillicoah in a different way. He works at the food truck outside.
Okay, very cool.
Fun.
But
all thanks to this music teacher, I'm guessing.
yeah,
kind of, yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, he and Shepard ended up playing Molly's Lips by Nirvana.
Right.
Actually, I think it's a Nirvana covered it. I don't think it's an original song.
So it's a double cover?
It's a double cover.
Nice. And then triple covered it.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So how was growing up in Miami for y'all?
Awesome.
Amazing and also kind of stressful.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very like high energy, very competitive, hot blooded type place to be.
Yeah. What'd y'all like to do? Play music and skateboard?
Yeah. But as a kid, you don't realize that, you know, like there's no frame of reference. So
it's almost hard to conceptualize stress as a kid.
Yeah. And you really, I mean, I think one only understands what they've been exposed to, especially at that young an age. And hey,
hold on one second.
You got it.
I think that it was a huge part of our development, obviously, you know, being our childhood and being such a fast pace. And I think that it does a good job of making you feel small.
Yeah.
And I think that is important in a way, just to realize, like, oh, there's opportunity out there, but, you know, you got to go and get it.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So y'all grew up close? Did y'all have others? You have your brother. Did you have siblings in the area too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So lots of friends and
2 brothers,
family.
a sister.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yep.
big
Very
family.
cool. Big old gang to run around with.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So moving forward, so y'all are in Miami, high school. What happens after y'all graduate?
So we both ended up going to Florida State. So we moved to Tallahassee. We played music all throughout this time.
Oh, nice.
So we were in bands together in Tallahassee. Went through college.
Was that like kind of the dream to graduate college and continue a music career?
Not so much a career, I wouldn't say, but it's just a passion. It's something to do. I think it's important too to like be true to just like what you love to do. And I think that's something that's always stuck with us, you know, throughout life, is like not to suffocate this thing that you love and turn it into something that you regret doing.
Right.
You know, that you don't like doing day to day. So I don't think it was ever going to be like I never saw it as being like a career. But just a passion, like a lifelong, just like love for making music and making art in general. I mean,
yeah. Was that self-learned, or was that something inspired from your parents or people around you?
For me, it was just self-learned.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I grew up in a pretty musical household.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
My dad loved playing music. My dad was in bands since he was young. And we always, you know, our version... Some families have like sports, and I loved playing sports, but like that wasn't our weekend. Our weekend was like tearing apart the music studio and rebuilding it.
Oh,
and,
very
like,
cool.
Yeah, if mom went out of town, it was like, we're gonna have a recording project. We're gonna move the studio into the living room.
Yeah,
and then break it down before she gets home and like move it back into the garage or wherever. So
gotcha.
Music was always a big part of my life. I think, you know, just it's all art, you know, and that's, I think, what really translates from music to creating beer. You know, beer is another form. You know, it's liquid cooking.
Yeah,
it's a culinary art, which you know, we really got into in college while we were playing music. We actually fucked up a couple batches of beer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can totally cut.
Oh yeah.
The first one was exquisite,
awesome.
Yeah.
But we got overconfident.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We brewed a
wheat.
wheat beer that we just like kind of riffed, and we were like, oh, what happens if we add a little bit of honey? And
oh, nice.
And it was actually a recipe that we revisited for a collaboration a couple years ago at this point. But anyhow, the first beer came out
great,
incredible,
yeah.
And we were like,
high marks.
we got this.
And that was actually, we were roommates in college, and I majored in geography, and I had this one TA. His name was Richie, and he was just a friend before he was ever a teacher's assistant in my class. But through geography, I took a lot of like food-based courses, like commodity chain analysis courses and stuff.
Okay.
And Richie ended up being one of those TAs in there, and just talking to him about food, he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be brewing a batch of beer this weekend. And for me, that was the first time it ever dawned on me, because at the time we were doing keg stands of Southpaw. And,
okay, gotcha. So your drinking thus far was kind of like party lifestyle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had, we had some like Dogfish Head.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, and then, Parks knew Richie just through our group of friends hanging out as well. And it was like, oh, wait, you're going to do what? You're going to brew a beer?
Yeah.
You can make beer?
Yeah. To me, it was like, oh, beer just like primordially exists.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah. Just pull it out of the ground and
full
kegs. It's
right. It comes from the gas up right down the street,
Right.
But we went and hung out, and it was like, oh, and then ended up buying our first kit, and from there made the first beer, and then really botched the second, third, and fourth beers, and that's kind of like the hook, for us, the hard things are what we choose to lean into. We didn't really even realize it back then. That the challenging things are where the biggest growth comes from.
Yeah.
So we just continued to homebrew beer there. And then when it was time to leave Tallahassee, because I think one of the biggest parts of anybody's college career, it comes from leaving that college town.
Yes.
Whether you go back or not, that. But for me, and I think for Parks, it was like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And Miami just didn't, have much for us as far as like what we were looking for the next step. And when we moved here, we kind of blazed our own trails.
When did y'all come to Asheville?
2007.
Okay, 2007.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Did you both come at the same time, or were you first and you second?
Yeah, we were living together and ran into a string of incidents. We had I think we called it like the December to dismember or something, because we just had a lot of like signs, weird shit happen where it was like, okay,
we need to leave.
We need to leave. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we sold pretty much everything that was in our house.
Why did y'all choose Asheville?
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Okay. Had y'all been here before?
I had been here. My parents, I grew up coming up here. So my dad's side of the family is from North Carolina, Asheboro. But we used to come up.
Oh, I got
me. Yeah, you good.
But we used to come up to the mountains here. My parents, they got a cabin with like 5 friends, this big group together, and they pooled their money and got a cabin just south of Dillsboro.
Okay.
So we would come up and visit that cabin and drive over to Asheville. And I remember getting lost in Asheville one time. I had just gotten back from Europe. And I was driving down Wall Street, and I was like, "Oh my God, this place is amazing!"
Oh, nice. That is a rad street. We've walked down it before.
It's really cool.
It's really
incredible.
That was really the old homebrew shop was.
Okay.
Right there off Wall Street.
Yeah.
So did y'all come here with like, we need something new? Did y'all have like jobs or an idea of what y'all wanted to do?
Didn't have jobs. Just kind of. It was 2007, so the recession was like happening, you know, and
fun
and
times.
Yeah, exactly. And as like recent college graduates, it was, you know, I dual majored in geography and environmental studies. So for me, Asheville had a good music scene, a good beer scene, both those things I was interested in, and kind of, you know, in my mind, I was like, well, I'll sandwich myself between national forests, and with my degree, I should be able to get a job with like the, you know, Division of Forestry or the Fish and Wildlife Commission or some, you know, GIS, like going around just like hitting GPS coordinates to like map trees or whatever. But that wasn't the case. And you know, I'm happy that it worked out this way. But that was a different time in the beer industry too. It was like you know, you could show up at a brewery and just beg to like, can I just scrub some stuff for a crowd? You know, not a crowler back then, a growler. And that's really how both of us worked our way into brewery settings.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Were y'all still homebrewing then too?
Oh yeah. We were part of like the
so just fully invested
into
it.
Local.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd call it a festival.
What?
Just Brew It.
It's a homebrew competition.
Okay.
It raises money for Just Economics.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we continued to homebrew for a while. And
where did y'all end up working in the area? Did you guys work at the same brewery or?
So I started at Asheville Brewing Company.
Okay.
And I basically was like, I'll work for free until you think I'm worth paying. And within a month I was getting paid.
Nice.
It was pretty cool. So I was bartending and splitting time between the bar and the brewery, and then eventually just made my way into the brewery. About a year or so in, I was lead cellarman.
Okay.
And at the time, we were doing like 1,000 barrels a year. And then within a couple of years, we were doing 10 times that, 5 times that.
Which is a
like
huge jump.
It was a big jump.
That leads into like 2010, 2011.
So we had like signed with Bud of Asheville then and started canning. We had like one of the first canning lines in Asheville, and things just ramped up from there. So I learned a lot. It was really great experience because I was able to work with a bunch of people that had been through brewing school, and the whole time I was kind of planning on going to brewing school. And then as I met more and more people that went to UC Davis, that did the Siebel Institute, that came from Domans. Because we hired people from all over the country, and I was able to work with them, and I actually got a lot of free course material.
Exactly. Free education.
Right. And then learning from them, and then also seeing like that it's basically just like any education, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So you can go, it can be like, grown-up sleepaway camp, and you can come out with nothing. Or you can go in with the intention of really, really absorbing as much as you can. And you really get a lot out of it. So with that said, it was like, if I have the course material, I can just read and study it and learn, which I had a drive to do.
Hell yeah.
So it was a really good experience to learn from a lot of people in that time period. And then I went over to Highwire,
which
was literally across the alleyway. Because they were expanding. They had just got their production facility. So they moved all their production over to the Big Top, that big 27,000 square foot.
Is that like that, what they call the Arts District or whatnot?
That's a newer one.
That's a newer
like
one.
More of their distribution center.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Big Top is in Biltmore Park. Biltmore Village area. I always get those mixed up. Oh, it's not called Big Top anymore. They had a C&D, I think.
Gotcha.
It's just the big one.
The big one.
But
that one over there.
Then I got to take over basically their original spot. So I was the only one that worked there. I did like R&D brewing. I got to
very cool.
I started their mixed culture program. And at the time I had barrels going in my basement. Like my home brewing had gotten out of control because I was working at I was working at a brewery, but we didn't make lager. and we didn't make anything mixed culture. So that's what I brewed at home. That's
Yeah.
what I liked to drink, and that's what I liked to make.
Yeah.
And so that opportunity came up, and it's like, well, it's hard to pass up. I mean, I'm basically able to run my own brewery, and just be creative and get paid for it. It's kind of a dream scenario. So did that for 2 years, and that was an incredible experience. And we, the whole time knowing that we wanted to open our own thing. So like, as all this is going on, we're meeting up and having beers and being like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
Because it's like, we don't have money.
Yeah.
How do we get money? How do we get a place?
Yeah.
And you when you're trying to put together like a business plan, you need to have a space.
Yeah.
Because that's going to form the business plan. But you don't have any money, so you can't get a space. And it's this like vicious cycle that you go through, and it's like trying to like break that cycle and try to put all these things together to where all these pieces fit and move together at the same time. It's kind of crazy, but
it takes the right team too. All the while. So I was bartending at Barley's, and I was helping out at Asheville Brewing Company where I could. They were fully staffed, and I just kind of would keep hitting them up and like, hey, can I come wash kegs today? Can I come fill growlers? Can I scrub whatever? In the time that I was working at Barley's, an opportunity came up to work at a brewery called Lexington Avenue Brewery. And within the year, I had worked my way into the head brewing position there.
Nice.
And
so what year was this? Just, I'm keeping like a rough timeline.
2012. 2011, 2012.
Gotcha. So you guys have been in the area for around like 5-6 years at that point.
Right. Yeah. And by the I think 2012 is when I took over the head brewing position at Lexington Avenue
Okay, so
Brewery.
2011 to 2012.
Right. And all the while, though, we were working on business plans. And working on pro formas and working on our vision and, where it fit, because the craft beer industry was exploding at that point.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And we always had an interest. I remember, obviously IPAs need no introduction. They kind of rule the market. And I just remember always going back to like Victory Prima Pils.
Oh, okay.
Victory Lager. Those were two big ones that we always had when I was bartending at the bar that I was at. Those were two mainstays that were always there. And lager just wasn't really all that. We specialize in two of the like most time expensive type of processes, between lager and farmhouse beer.
Yeah.
And we were just refining our business plan and kind of feeding it to people, like getting feedback, but also, seeing if there was any opportunity out there. And
was there a group of people or like a person that really kind of helped y'all during that journey of the business plans? And
yes, many friends and like, our parents and their friends, people that were more established and like have, a little bit more experience. But really the biggest turning point was Jeremy. Jeremy coming in, because we knew how to brew beer. We had been brewing beer for a while, and we were brewing beer that we really considered to be very good. And we had established a lot of relationships, and between the home brewing community and the homebrew competitions that we won a couple of the homebrew competitions and had our beers. One of the prizes I remember being that we had our beer brewed at a commercial level.
Oh, nice.
So we knew how to brew beer. We just would always hit this point where it's like, okay, what is the next step? And Jeremy was that step when we had a business plan, and Jeremy, he's got his master's in business, and he was at the time working at Sierra Nevada as Brian Grossman's executive assistant. So
okay. That's not a bad reference to have.
Right, yeah. I mean, he learned from the best.
Yeah.
And when he saw the business plan, he was like, this is really interesting, and, I think it's unique. It was a time when not many breweries were focusing on lager. And, going back to the idea of, like, we lean into the hard things, the difficult things. I mean, the first beer we ever brewed here, we brewed into our open fermenter.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The room that we built that we were uncertain of because we built this place ourselves, and we were like, well, if we put in a HEPA filtration system and have positive pressure, and it should work. Yeah. And the first beer we ever brewed, which we started out without a brew house, so we made wort off-site, dragged it over here, 5,000 pounds of sloshing liquid, and knocked out into an open fermenter, and we were like, all right, just do the right thing, buddy.
Yeah.
And
hope we raised you right.
Right.
Yeah. That's a big jumping off a cliff right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the next beer was a Pilsner.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
So
not making it easy.
No, I was about to say, only brewers, and I think in this industry, would say, hey, what is the hardest thing that we can do? That's the first thing we're going to do. Great job.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Can I step back? How did y'all decide on the name?
Oh, that was one of the things where it was like, yeah, cool. Like, that sounds good. We had so many names. It was one of those things like, you don't let a surgeon operate on their child, because they're too close to it. Yeah. We had all of these things that we wanted to wrap up into like a name.
Right.
And we finally, we had a list so long, and we were like, oh, well, that name doesn't really hit the points of this and this. And then finally the name Zillicoah was thrown out there. And it was like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds cool. We always joke, it's a great name, but not a good name because it's hard to
spell.
It's hard to spell.
Sometimes say.
Although when we were shopping it, our kids were like 3 years old at the time, and both of our kids were able to say it. And we were like, if a 3-year-old can say it,
we'll
good.
be okay.
Yeah.
But and a lot of times it's just kind of reduced to like Z.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Zillicoah is it's a Cherokee term. And it translates to raging waters. And we're right here on the French Broad River.
Yeah.
And so, it was a certain section of the French Broad River that the Cherokee tribe called Zillicoah.
From here to the headwaters.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very
nice.
Cool. Yeah,
that's a cool piece of history.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
How did y'all find this spot?
We were standing on a different spot, looking at it. If you were to look at the curve of the river right up this way, the river kind of bends right, and then like right up the river right here.
Okay.
And if you were standing on the bank, which we were, because we were looking at that spot, and it was just a blank spot, and we had some other people involved at the time with Zillicoah Beer Company, and they owned that property, and they wanted to, like, we were going to build some structures there, and so we were standing on that property and looked downriver, and we were like, what is that?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, and the realtor was with us, and he was like, oh, I'm not sure, but I'll look into it. Gotcha. And came back a couple days later, and he was like, well, currently it's leased by the Grove Park Inn, and they use it as like overflow parking and a storage facility.
Okay. Interesting.
And their lease is up. They had been in here something like 10 years, or I'm actually not sure that the duration that they were here, but they were like, their lease is up in a month, and they're not renewing it. And we were like,
oh,
okay, can we look at it? And we came in and looked at it, and this place looked completely different at the time. This whole back area was closed in, and it had that loft, but it was like the steel beams just cut straight across, and that whole back area was 3 or 4 different rooms, and it was just floor to ceiling of boxes of files of just like and then like rug storage out here, and then there was this big concrete that I think you can see the footprint somewhere, but that we busted out. But this big concrete wall, like chest high wall that had like an oil tank in it, and
interesting.
Yeah,
so a menagerie of storage was just thrown in here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you know, we were able to secure the lease, and we started breaking ground in February of 2017. Some sawzalls and some sledgehammers.
Hell yeah!
Demo day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. I mean, like, this is such a cool space. I remember the first time we walked up here, I was just like, we've been to a ton of breweries. We've been to a ton that are in warehouses and different things. And I think this was our first time to be, it's like right by the river. You have this huge, I love the like overhang out on the front part of it, being able to have like a little patio space and whatnot. It just felt different than most of the warehouse breweries that we've been into.
No, yeah.
And
so it has its own personality.
Yeah, the way y'all utilized it, I think, is just so much different. I think a lot of people would have put like the tanks like right here in the front and all these different things. And I don't know, I really like it. It's very unique and very different and very welcoming. Like, we had so much fun coming. Yeah, I think we brought our cat that one time.
Oh yeah,
when we were first here. Yeah, and then being able to see like the dogs, and we liked the chairs down at the front, and I think we saw. Don't y'all rent hammocks where you can like or like?
Yeah, I mean,
or like hand out hammocks. Not
it's just they're free.
Yeah,
but yeah, actually, Eno is an Asheville-based company.
Okay.
And they do all kinds of outdoor gear.
Yeah, we have 2 hammocks in the back of our.
Yeah, what they're famous for is their hammocks. Yeah. And they came out here at one point, and they were like, "Would you guys want us to set up a little like hammock area?" And we were like,
"Yeah, sure, yes,
speaking
please."
To my soul.
Yeah. So I kind of love. I love the reaction a lot of the time when somebody's walking in here for the first time, because the outside of the building isn't much to look at, and the parking lot ain't great. But usually when people come through the door, it's this kind of like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Because, we put all of our budget went to like fermentation space.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned we started without a brew house initially. And that was actually it was a unique structure. It's the only way we were ever able to start. We started on a shoestring budget.
Right.
And we had just enough capital to buy our stainless and some oak.
Mm-hmm.
And just through the relationships that we had built through the years, and I was still head brewer at Lexington Avenue Brewery, and worked it into where we made wort there, and we had the funds to buy a transport tote, which is just it was a bright tank, a 15-barrel bright tank that had some skids welded onto it so it can be forklifted.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And so
more brewer ingenuity right there.
Yeah, and it actually previously belonged to Wicked Weed.
Oh,
and they used to tote wort with it, and they were just done with it. And we had and still have a great relationship with the brew team there. And when they knew what we were trying to do, they, they did a great thing for us.
Craft beer
made
community.
A great deal happen for
Community and industry has always, I think, been really good at helping one another out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so we would mash in, or like first thing in the morning. It's like 5:30 in the morning. We're mashing in, and then one of us would stay and make the wort, and the other one would come back here and prep the cellar.
Okay.
And then it would be a phone call like, hey, we're gonna be ready for knockout at noon.
Yeah.
And so then Jeremy and whichever one of us would like hook up the trailer, forklift the trailer, the transport tote onto the trailer, strap it down.
100-foot knockout hose.
Yeah, drive it over, block traffic.
Yeah.
And knock out with a 100-foot hose into this transport tote. And then one of us would stay there and clean while the other two
kind of broke down and
5,000 pounds of sloshing liquid through
really slowly.
A mountain downtown.
Yeah.
And come back here and knock out into whatever vessel it's going to go into and ferment.
Wild.
That's a great story.
Yeah, I love it though.
I fucking love that.
I haven't heard that before.
We did that for 2 years.
2 years.
Damn. Okay.
Oh
Would you also brew over at LAB, or were you working another job and then working here?
So I went from Highwire to here.
Okay,
I was
gotcha.
the first one that was like full time in here.
Okay.
And he was still a head brewer over at Lab.
Okay.
For almost a year, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Almost a year. But the
yeah, it's okay.
Gotta get those dogs back.
But the idea of transporting wort was actually, we like adapted that from one of our first plans. Our original like idea that we put together was to do all mixed culture stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we were going to, I was working at Asheville Brewing Company at the time. He was working at Lab, and it was like we could go into either one of these breweries at night.
Yeah.
Make wort, put it in a plastic IBC tote, take it back to a warehouse. We don't even need glycol. We'll put it into a fermenter.
Yeah.
Add Brett to it, and then we'll just bottle stuff. And it'll just be a barrel, just a warehouse full of barrels and a couple of 15-barrel tanks, and like just as cheaply as we could possibly do it. And at the time, we had never heard of anybody transporting wort. And we didn't know if we would even need a brewing license to do that.
Right.
Because we didn't know, like, if we added yeast at the brewery, then it's technically beer. So we could just be like a wholesaler. And so we were like kind of working our brains with that for a while. And then we took a trip to Belgium in 2012 and visited some lambic producers that didn't have a brew house. And they were transporting wort. And we were like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
Wow, like we had no idea that this was a thing, and then we went over there and saw it happening, and like some of our favorite beers that we had over there.
That's how they did it.
We're done that way. And it's
awesome.
Like, damn, this is incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's so amazing that y'all could get started.
Oh, just good dogs. They're just checking. Just like, hey. Yeah, I think I remember learning about that in 2015 when I started in breweries, because I was reading this German beer book, kind of like about beer history, and how they would like drive it by truck, or they would just pipe it across like under city streets, and I thought that was wild. That
in Bruges.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's insane. But I just thought that was so cool, because I thought for all the quality control, you wanted like as little components as possible that to like not infect it. But once learning that with just like basic beer theory and logic applied, it's like, oh, this is totally possible. And then we've learned from other people too, like you can homebrew as like a 16-year-old. You can brew wort. You can't pitch the yeast. Once you pitch the yeast that's making beer, and that would be like illegal for you to do.
Parker did at Narrow's Brewery for
his dad's birthday.
They're out in Tacoma, and he was 16, and he wanted to make his dad a beer for his birthday. And so he was able to do all this stuff.
Yeah, he went to like a homebrew shop, and he like brewed it there, and then like told him like, hey, I brewed a beer for you, but you have to go pitch the yeast and then take it home.
And pay for it and then bring it home for yourself, because he was 16.
That was a cool story.
Yeah. So that's amazing that you're able to do that for 2 years. And I can't imagine, like, if y'all weren't able to do that, could y'all have gotten started, or would y'all have?
We were kind of like, so that the idea of like transporting the wort came back around because we wanted to be able to do mixed culture and lager, and clean beers. So it was kind of an either or. It's like we could get a small shitty brew house and just do clean beer, or just mixed culture beer, or we can transport wort, bypass the brew house part, and have our split cellar
or just do
that
a
we
completely
want.
different scale. We talked about like just a fermentation space where we sell beer and like kimchi and sauerkraut, and like figure out how to
all other fermentables
into
right
this size of brewery.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's amazing. It's a cool story. Again, I haven't heard of anyone transporting wort, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's the first time for me to hear that, but very nice.
It's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And in hindsight, it's like, wow. But it never got less scary.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2 years of it, I'm sure that was rough.
And you know, twice the amount of, twice the chance of contamination.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
When you're knocking out into 2 separate tanks, you're knocking out through a 100-foot hose, outdoors.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's funny still, you know, we're a couple years in at this point of having our own brew house, and there's still times where, like, we're wrapping up the end of the day, and I'm like, did we do everything? Like, this seems so easy.
Yeah, it feels like a fever dream or something.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah,
so wild.
I mean, but it's a testament. The beer is fucking fantastic,
Yeah.
and I
Thank you.
think it's also to like your quality control and execution. To me, it sounds super. I say like butt clenching to do like we do lagers and then we do like Brett sour farmhouse beers. I'm like, those are the two things that you don't want to mess up at all, and those two like almost compete against each other. About like one could be super easy to infect, and then it's easy to detect, and that's like, do we sell a bad beer or do we just dump it? And then the same thing for the other one. It's so much time process, and you can let it sit, and it not be good, and then be like, what do we do with this? So it's just a testament to you guys' execution and quality and like focus and passion.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is that it actually opens things up quite a bit because, you know, as we mentioned, we try out new things. You know, there's, you know, a lot of brewers that we've talked to that brewing new recipes constantly is their nightmare. And to us, brewing the same beer over and over is our nightmare. So we really like to experiment.
Yeah.
But through experimentation, there's certain times where we try something out on our light side, and we're like, nah, that's not going to work. And then what do you know, without the dark side, we're just dumping that down the drain.
Yeah.
So we'll then feed it to the dark side.
Yeah.
And
It's all good. I grew up with 7 siblings. All of our family members have like 2 to 4 dogs, so we are like very used to chaos.
Noise. We live in a van with 2 cats, so like we understand chaos.
check on them every year.
No,
Yeah,
100%.
no, for sure. Y'all are good.
We've also learned that
4 acres to roam, but then sometimes they like get curious and roam outside.
Oh
the
yeah,
fence.
as animals do.
Yeah,
We've
for
also
sure.
heard the French broad is, I don't know how it is for animals, but you're not supposed to get in it. I heard it's very E. coli filled and not great.
Yeah, it's blown out of
Cannot confirm or disconfirm.
I think that's way overblown.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there's going to be E. coli in every river you
Yeah,
go.
True.
for sure.
Yeah, it's.
There's poop
I can
everywhere.
say
Yeah.
that it is cleaner now than it was 40 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
sure.
a start.
So obviously y'all are doing great. The community has definitely received y'all. What was it like? Like so y'all were transferring the wort. Like when did you open the tap room, and what was the community
Reception like.
So we opened in 2017, October 20th. We had a soft opening, and it was overwhelming. There was the 3 of us behind the bar. And we didn't really know what to expect, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So they came in here to the tap room. Like, did y'all have kind of pretty similar how it is now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same layout.
Okay, so same setup.
Yeah, and
And I'm assuming it was just kind of heard grassroots, like word of mouth of who you two were and like what you were doing in the industry, because now you've been in there for over 10 years. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, we had a lot of support from both sides. You know, like our home brewing years had kind of, you know, developed relationships that way, and then in our professional brewing lives, we had developed a lot of relationships there, and then you know, I mean, we're also just members of the community, so we have friends outside of the beer industry.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very overwhelming. It was you know, there's the 3 of us behind the bar, not really knowing if 5 people were going to show up or 500 people were going to show up.
Yeah.
And
It was like that for a long time. It's like every time we'd open, we'd be like, "Is anybody going to show up today?" Or
I still feel that way.
Still
care.
Yeah, a little surreal.
Do y'all remember what beers y'all had at the time to serve?
It was a Patters beer, barrel fermented Patters beer.
What's a Patters beer? Sorry, I'm not trying to cut it off right at the start.
It's a Belgian style.
It's like Belgian single.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It translates to like father's beer.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it's
It's what the monks would drink.
Very cool, yeah.
And not get hammered.
Okay, gotcha.
And we had an IPA on. We had a Pilsner on, which, interestingly enough, we just brewed that first recipe, that first Pilsner that was on for that release. We have it in the tank right now.
Oh, nice.
We're planning on releasing it for our 7th anniversary. 7 years.
Fuck yeah.
Amazing.
And a session breakfast porter.
That I don't think we opened with that.
I think we did.
I don't think we did.
Yeah. We'll have to check the receipt.
I like that session breakfast porter though. So I'm thinking like 4.5%.
It was like 3.8.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice, even lower.
And,
very cool.
Had some vanilla bean, oats.
Perfect. So it's like literally just filling what fills people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, we opened with like four beers, I think.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Very nice. Yeah. How do y'all plan y'all's strategy of what beers y'all are going to release or put on tap? Like, what does that look like? Since you are always experimenting, what are the things that really dictate what y'all are going to put out?
So we'll have like slots to fill. So we'll have like we'll know that we need to get like we want to have like a dark lager and like an amber colored lager, something malty, and then we know we need to have a couple hoppier pilsners. So we just have like different categories that we know that we want to fill every round we go through of brewing. So we'll basically get like a pitch of yeast, and then we'll load up all the tanks.
Gotcha.
And in that time, it's like 5-6 weeks of brewing basically. And so for each like run of lager, we know that we want to fill some of those voids, and it changes as well, like through the season. So like now when this next run that we're gonna do, we know we want to get some bigger, darker beers in. We're actually gonna bottle Oktoberfest tomorrow. So it changes seasonally like that, but we know that there's like to keep a balanced draft board. We know that there's certain things that we want to fill.
Right.
Yeah, but it's still even so. Zillicoah, it's so to your personality, which I think is awesome. It's like you hit the market well, but it's not like, oh, we're doing like a double dry hop something. It's like having hoppy pilsners or even like IPA that's like 5.5% is still like filling that void for a hop head or filling it for somebody who likes a macro lager. It's like, oh, we have these pilsners that you'll love, or even like a Foeder pilsner too. So that's fucking awesome.
Very cool. I love that so much. How do y'all decide like where you get your ingredients from? You did say you like to do a lot of local stuff.
Yeah. When we're pretty adamant about like if we're brewing a German style beer, like we're never gonna brew a Munich style. Never say never, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We're never gonna brew a Munich style Helles with North Carolina malt. Things kind of place themselves in that kind of way, So a lot of our like innovative beers, our Woodfin Lager, Appalachian Pils, things that are kind of open to that kind of canvas because of it's an innovative style beer. That's that's the foundation of like, okay, what kind of malt are we really going with here? And then from there, it's really like continuing to build these relationships with the local malting companies, and they're small too, so they're running through their own experimentation. So it'll be like, Henry from Carolina Malt will hit us up and be like, oh, we're going to be trying out some, like rice, or, we're going to be getting we're going to be doing a run of corn next year, you know.
Yeah. So you can kind of plan some things around that as well. If
right.
you're like trying something.
Yeah, and we don't really have a flagship to speak of. I mean, there's certain beers that we try to keep on year round.
Like Keller Pills.
Yeah, and we're not, we don't even have them on year round because we're small and, you know, we don't, you know, 90% of our beer is sold right over our own counter. So it's like, what gets hit hard, and we never really know how fast something is going to move. So scheduling it in with like a seamless, like batch to batch, like, okay, you know, like Keller Pills is about to be out, you know, it very rarely works seamlessly like that.
And if we were to try to do that, we would end up making 6 beers. That would be it.
No,
and it would be those 6 beers, and that's all we would be able to produce.
Right.
I was gonna ask really quick. Like, I think having such an experimental kind of like, I think, open ethos about Zillicoah. Do you attribute that to having like why it's still so youthful in here? And you guys are turning 7 years old, so it's like you guys aren't a young brewery anymore. You guys have spent your time in this industry, and talking to both of you still seem very like fresh and go get them. Where I think most people in your careers would kind of be looking at that distro model of being like, all right, I just want to do 5-6 beer stuff that's safe and gets the money in, and then if I have time, we can do some fun projects. Otherwise, it's about just growing.
Yeah, I think we're unique in that we started a brewery because we love to make beer.
Nice.
And it's just a canvas for us. I mean, to be able to live our lives the way that we think is important, and being able to love what you do day in, day out is vital.
Yeah. And variety is the spice of life, you know.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Didn't we see somebody said that yesterday?
I resonate with all of that. I remember when I was 22 years old getting in this industry. And I knew I wasn't going to make a fuck ton of money, but I was like, I love every day that I work. And the like attitudes and sometimes things have changed, but still, even us doing this, it's like, I love this industry. I love doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, that's the biggest fulfillment.
Yeah, and it's how you, like, what is your value system?
Yeah,
if your value system is money motivated, you know, and anytime anybody opens a business, the point is to make money. We might as well just go back to the garage and home brewing if we weren't intent on making money.
Yeah.
But we never make decisions based solely on this is going to bring in the most money.
Smart.
We've actually left a lot of money on the table with decisions that we've made that have been like, we only ever opened Zillicoah to be a neighborhood brewery for place. We wanted it to be a place for Asheville, you know, the community, and for Woodfin, and we wanted brewers to want to come here and drink beer.
Yeah.
And we knew that if brewers wanted to come here and drink beer, and the local community, the town of Woodfin and city of Asheville wanted to come here to drink, everything else would
fall into place.
And then, you know, fast forward a little bit to COVID, and that's, you know, that is what kept us alive. You know, the community is what kept us alive.
And our Crowler Steamer.
And our Crowler Steamer.
Yeah. Is it in October? Is it?
Yeah. We're not scared to make money.
Yeah, no.
You know, but like that's not
the driving force.
That is not how we make decisions. Every time we have an important decision to make, you know, it's like simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. Let's simplify this, and like, is it going to add value to our lives? Because we love doing a lot of things. We love playing music. We love getting outdoors. We all have families, and I can't tell you how many times we have brewers stop in here and like gaze up at the brew deck longingly and be like, gosh, I just wish I could brew beer again. And what they've done is they've expanded because, you know, they're trying to get more beer out and trying to continue to grow, because that's like, we get that question all the time, like, when's the expansion happening? And it's like, we're there, man.
Look at these beautiful fooder tanks.
And we love the idea of getting more beer to people that love it and want it. But we're not looking to hire out our job, you know, our positions as brewers, because that's why we opened this place to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. Love that so much. And I think it does reflect in, like Austin was saying, like y'all's attitude, but also in the beer that you're making and in the space. Like I said before, like it just feels a little bit different when you come in here. Like it just feels like a place that, my husband being a brewer, I'm not a brewer, but I've been to a lot of, go to a lot of breweries. And so coming in here, it's like, this is a place I would come, like, after, if we were, like, living in Asheville, this would be like, hey, let's go have a shift pint, you know, like, hang out with the guys and some girls, you know, at the bar or whatever. Like, it is that type of beer for us, for sure.
Yeah, it seems like an intricate part of the community and, like, intimate, and I think that's super important, because, like you talked about in COVID, that's where you saw a lot of these big, I would say, hype breweries. They were doing all these massive expansions and cool collaborations, and like, we're the top, we're the coolest. All those spaces are gone now, and it's not anything against the people at Modern Times whatsoever, but that was something we saw in Portland, and like within a year of that, like Portland space, or maybe 2, that space was gone, and then you saw all their other locations disappear, and then they said, like, we've really kind of like lost way with some of our values of our local community, and that's what we're going to reflect back on and try to bring back. And it wasn't just Modern Times. There was, I think I read like 8 or 10 different breweries were doing a similar strategy through COVID. And I think it really, because that's how most of the beer industry has survived for so long throughout history, is your local community. I mean, we talk about this, this is probably like the 10th episode we've said this, but you know, back in the day, people got their news and information at the pub and tavern. And especially if you didn't have heating, you would go to the tavern because there was a ton of people there and it was warm. And that's where everything was kind of conversed and traded. And so I think that grassroots kind of like strong local community presence you guys have is a testament to not just yourselves, but also like how you represent Zillicoah as a business. So kudos, giving you flowers for that. That's fucking awesome.
That's really great to hear, because it's like what we're all about.
I love that. So what are some of the things, I know y'all's anniversary is coming up, y'all doing, you know, you talked about some of the things y'all are bottling. What does the rest of the year look like for y'all? What are y'all excited about?
So this is the time of year where things typically kind of like we can exhale a little bit. You know, we as brewers, we kind of live in the future. And by that I mean, like, anything that we brew today is you know, it's 2-3 months before it's actually hitting taps. So you fast forward, you know, we're kind of mid-September, you're talking about, you know, by December, that's when everything that's in the tank is going to be coming out. So, and December, January, February are typically pretty chill here. So I, for one, am looking forward to that, you know, being able to exhale a little bit and lick some of my wounds.
Slow down the RPMs just a tad.
Spend time. I think it's just a natural. It's nice because I think a lot of times it's forgotten that we are just animals. And if you look at the natural pattern of animal behavior, it's kind of, this is the time of year where everything is kind of squirreling some stuff away to like for the chiller, kind of slower months of the year. So for me, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. And then, you know, getting to little maintenance projects, you know, we do things like that, you know, building
like sidebars.
Do like little aesthetically, you know, aesthetic kind of touch-ups in here, and projects that throughohout the year we're like, oh yeah, we got to get to that at some point. So
your honey to-do list is coming.
Yeah.
So you can take it easy. Do y'all have plans for the anniversary party, or like y'all doing, I know you said that y'all are bringing that beer, but are y'all doing like a party or anything, or it's just like, hey, this is our anniversary, here's
we're actually
some beer?
Really terrible at remembering our anniversary.
We have never remembered.
Haven't ever remembered it.
Never.
So honestly, we had somebody. It was like 2 years ago, and the three of us were like stacking firewood or doing something outside, and somebody from across the yard was like, "Hey, congratulations!" And we were like,
"Thanks,
thank you for what?" And they were like, "It's your anniversary." And we were like, "Shit,
today?"
And so we're just happy to remember it this year.
Yeah,
nice.
And we're gonna release this Pilsner, hopefully, which is this rice Pilsner that that we had on. It's like one of the first beers that we ever had on here. Other than that, I don't. Just try to remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. But like slowing down and doing some projects that can't happen during the busy months.
Yeah. For sure.
Fuck yeah.
For next year, I know this is a little bit forward. Do y'all do any like festivals or any? Because I know you mentioned a couple of things. Like, what are some of the festivals that y'all like to do?
So we do Session Fest every year.
Okay.
And that was, man, I can't remember the festival we were at when we were like that idea came up. It was way before we opened.
Yeah.
We were like, in a hot parking lot somewhere drinking like big, sticky, hoppy beer, and we were just like, what are we? Like, why do we do this?
Yeah, why are we hurting ourselves?
Why are we standing online in this heat drinking these huge beers? Like we should be drinking session beer, small beers that we can drink all day.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, dude, when we have a brewery, we're gonna have a festival of just teeny tiny little beers.
Love that.
Nice.
That you can drink all day in the sun.
When do y'all normally have that?
August.
So
like
okay.
last week of August, typically.
Okay.
Yeah.
We may have to plan to come out, babe.
No, I think we will. I think they Dave from Obelisk Beer Company, they might have come out here for that, or maybe they were just here doing a drop out. No.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we actually got to hang out with them for a minute.
Oh yeah,
cool dude.
Yeah, I met him when I was at Fort George.
Yeah.
He did a lot of the R&D and like he did their barrel program for a lot of their barrel things. But he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And of course, I laugh about it. He's a good friend. But
They
I'm like,
were
oh
our
man, you
third-
started a lager brewery and you're a metalhead and like your designs and stuff. I was like, so niche, dude.
I think I think he was our third podcast.
Yeah,
That was fun.
We love him.
Yeah, we love that place. We were in Astoria for a year, so we got to know them very well and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Unless there's anything else.
No, but it's good.
If y'all had a piece of advice for your younger self, what would it be?
I mean, it doesn't have to be like business or beer related.
Yeah, or like something maybe you tell your kids or something.
Just keep going. Without failure, there is no progress. And I think we knew that back then, but it's just nice to have that. A lot of the things that we've been working real hard towards come to fruition through that mantra.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You absolutely are going to be okay.
I think Austin and I both needed to hear that today.
No, yeah. Our van, our electrical started freaking out.
It's cut out.
We've had a bunch of stuff been going on for months, and we're just like, we can do it.
We're
We
fine.
can get through this. Yeah. So I like that.
So it's good.
You're going to be okay is a good one. Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much. This has been amazing.
Seriously, this is like on our bucket list. So thank you for helping us.
So much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Happy to do it. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you. Cheers, friends.
Cheers.